Hey guys, it's Derek here. This past weekend, a very special teaser trailer dropped for Netflix's One Piece live action adaptation. Now, I am cautiously optimistic here, but I would like to kind of go over it with everyone else that is also a One Piece fan. Or maybe not yet, and this might be your first introduction to it. Starting off, it looks like they've gone with a very realistic take on the One Piece world, which I'm actually really happy about, because if you've actually read or watched One Piece at any point in time, you know just how goofy it is, and colorful and vibrant. So it's kind of nice that they toned it down a little bit, so it's a little bit more watchable. I've actually watched some other live actions before, like Oren High and the FMA one, and they're a little bit too close to the source material, and when it's like that, it can get a little bit cringe. A few stylistic things they've changed up already that I've seen is the Mary head is kind of just like a demonic goat head now, a little bit more freaky and much more realistic. Don't know how I feel about that just yet, but it is a bit of a change. Also, our favorite blonde cook is missing his signature eyebrows, so they're not curly in here, they're just very, very generic and normal. Kind of wish they added the curly in, but I also understand why they didn't. And we didn't actually get to see whether or not he is a chain smoker or if he'll have a lollipop like with some of the 4Kids stuff, so we'll have to see. Usopp also looks like he's missing his signature long nose this time around, which might actually be a good thing, because I think it would be very unrealistic to have such a long nose for a prosthetic, or if you do CGI all the time. So it's kind of nice they kind of toned that down a little bit. So realism in this sense is a good thing. Other characters that are surprisingly close to the source material would be Nami and also Zoro. It's kind of nice how they look here. It's not quite cosplay, but it's not quite super realistic, so that's a nice touch. And I don't know if you saw, but Buggy looks terrifying. I don't like clowns. He kind of gave me those really creepy clown vibes, and I think that's what they were going for. If you hate clowns, maybe you want to skip a few episodes. As for Luffy himself, it does seem like they nailed the casting choice here. Iñaki is more or less just playing himself, and when that happens with actors, I feel like that's when you get the best performances. The only thing I do want to touch on a little bit is his voice does seem a little bit forced, and it's almost like he's putting on a little bit of a fake voice. I've rewatched the trailer a few times, and it's kind of the one thing that sticks out to me the most. It kind of reminds me of a superhero changing his voice a little bit so that people don't know who he is, the secret identity. So when he speaks normally and is just free-flowing, he sounds completely different, but still would pass off as a good live-action Luffy. Hopefully they change this up a little bit going forward, and it sounds a little less forced. Moving on to some of the more technical aspects, I do see that they've gone with the signature Hollywood orange and teal look. Everything just has that kind of wash on there. It's color graded that way, and you'll most likely see that with a lot of other movies. Kind of standard practice at this point. But I'm pretty satisfied with how they've used CGI. Things like the Lord of the Coast look incredibly menacing, and a huge upgrade over our anime and manga counterpart. Now it looks like it can do real damage to people like Shanks. If I did have one nitpick with the CGI though, it'd have to be whenever Luffy uses his powers. It's still a little bit odd hearing Gum Gum Pistol in live action, and seeing it is also incredibly strange. It looks a little bit off, and I don't know if it's just me, but I kind of wish they went with the anime sounds for some of the stretching parts, because it just sounds like rubber. So hopefully the sound design changes just a little bit, because yeah, there's nothing realistic about Extendo Rubber Boy. You might as well go a little bit crazier at that point. Another thing I also picked up on that I'm grateful that production did was all the different outfit changes that Luffy and I believe Usopp have. They're changing out the outfit at least once or twice, which is actually kind of neat, because in the main story, Luffy doesn't change his outfit too much, but the ones that we see are just kind of like little Easter eggs for us manga readers. That's a nice little touch. If it were up to me, I would change up one major thing, at least with what the trailer showed, and that would be the use of different angles. Everything just seemed really close and tight, kind of like we're shooting on like a APS-C, so I'm like super close to you, which is a little bit strange. I would like them to pull further back so we can see the background a little bit more and show off that crazy One Piece world. Now, I know this is probably made during COVID, so not a whole lot of location shooting could have been done, but I think that would have been a nice choice. It would just be, to give a little bit of depth that way, because some of the shots, like when he first meets Zoro, are incredibly intimate. Speaking of Zoro though, we do see him fighting in a few different scenes. The movement and action does look pretty good overall. Now there is one part where he is holding the Wano Ichimonji in his mouth, which I believe is kind of like a still shot. I don't think this would be like a constant thing, and it'd also be incredibly hard to shoot, I believe. If this does get a little further, like season 2 or 3, and the fights get crazier, that might just be CGI. I think that'd probably be the only way they could do it. Kind of like how Henry Cavill's cape is not actually on him, it's also CGI. But I think we should also address the biggest elephant in the room here, and that is the episode count and the pacing. There's supposed to be 8 episodes. They're about an hour long, so we do have a bit of runtime, but we do need to get through the entire East Blue Saga and also see and defeat 4 villains, which might be a little bit difficult. They've only really announced the very first episode name, which is Romance Dawn, and if you scour online a little bit, there are people who say that they've leaked the rest of them. So if you don't want to be spoiled because the names of the titles for the episodes basically spoil the whole episode, then yeah, just click this timestamp here. Go to this timestamp here, and we'll meet up in a little bit. In no particular order, because apparently they are incredibly jumbled up, there is Romance Dawn, which I believe is the very beginning of the story. We're gonna see Alvida, Kobe, maybe Buggy here, and maybe some Lowtown shenanigans, so that's kind of one of the first things we do see. We are also going to meet Axe-Hand Morgan most likely, and Zoro in like the very first episode. Episode 2 is the Man with the Straw Hat. Now, for those of you who know One Piece, at least from the beginning, that wasn't even Luffy, that was Shanks. And we do see Shanks in the trailer when the Lord of the Coast is shown. So that might just be a little flashback, nothing too crazy here. Next episode up, episode 3, should be Tell No Lies, which I believe is the beginning of Usopp's story, because we all know how much of a liar Usopp is, unfortunately. The next episode after that is also supposed to be named The Pirates Are Coming, and that basically finishes off the rest of Usopp's story, and we're gonna see Kuro there, and yeah, hopefully get to marry and see everyone else. Might be a little bit of an interesting episode, get to see some scary parts. I feel like they can really lean into the horror elements, but we will have to wait and see. Episode 5 should be Irate Baratie, so you're gonna see Sanji, gonna meet Zeph and everyone else there, and we're most likely gonna meet Gin at this episode. Episode 6, on the other hand, is going to be the chef and the chore boy. Don Krieg should be showing up, and we also might even get the introduction of Mihawk. And the last 2 episodes should be the girl with the sawfish tattoo and the worst in the East. Kind of self-explanatory. We should be seeing Arlong here. They do have him casted, but I'm interested to see how much CGI they're going to be putting on him and the rest of everyone else. This might be a little bit interesting. We're going to see just how far the CGI can go. And I think this is going to be the make or break point for the most part. And yeah, of course, the worst of the East basically is Luffy becoming the biggest and baddest in the East. Welcome back, people who skipped ahead. Talking again a bit about the pacing, we do have 8 episodes, 1 hour long each, and a whole bunch of content to go through. I believe they're going to be skipping out and kind of trimming the fat quite a bit, so we're just going to get straight to the action, not too much extended dialogue. I wonder how that's going to work for character development though, so that kind of worries me a little bit. I do kind of understand it's most likely to do with budget constraints. If they were to actually flesh everything out, we would be anywhere between 16 and like 24 episodes for season 1. Maybe, like fingers crossed, this does well enough, we do get a season 2. So ultimately, who is this One Piece live action for? Now, I know a lot of people have been wondering whether or not they'd be going completely for the new fans and kind of just doing their own thing, or sticking super true to the source material. But I think this time around, we're going straight down the middle. It's gonna be a 50-50 split. You're gonna try to satisfy all the existing fans with some nice little nuggets, keeping it real, and trying to bring in more people by making it more accessible and having it on Netflix, primarily in English as well. But speaking of that, because it's on Netflix, I'm actually really curious whether or not I can change the language to Japanese and watch it with subtitles. And if you can, would the actual original voice actors in Japanese show up as well? That might be an interesting watch. I don't know. All I know is my initial skepticism was way up high here, and now it's dropped to like a medium. I'm still not completely convinced, but we're gonna have to see the first few episodes just to get a good feel about everything. I'll most likely do another video or 2 later on if you guys like this one, but I do think we are in fairly good hands, mainly because Oda is at the helm of the entire operation as the executive producer, and unless he greenlights something, it will most likely not come out. If it's good enough for the original creator and he has a lot of involvement, maybe it should be good enough for all of us. But let me know in the comment section down below, what are your thoughts on the One Piece live action? Are you going to be watching it on August 31st, or are you going to skip it altogether? Let me know down below. And of course, if you did enjoy the video, please consider giving it a big old like, and And yeah, this is a little bit new, different thing we're gonna try out. If it does well, we might continue doing some more of these. My name is Derek, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.